Hello and welcome to Healing Tips from the Heart, Intuition with Helpers, Healers, and Guides. I am your host, Dr. Lori Hops, licensed psychologist, writer, and artist. I've explored mind, body, and spirit related to intuition, or your personal guidance system, since early childhood. Meet my guests who have learned from their personal and professional lives to explore vast realms of knowing, synchronicities, and overcoming challenges. Their stories may inspire you with tools to enhance your daily living and relationships. Hello, everyone, and welcome today my special guest, Betsy Muller. Betsy has an MBA and is an internationally accredited master trainer and advanced practitioner of emotional freedom techniques. Betsy's programs feature an effective assortment of mind-body practices for peak performance, balance, and health. She has many decades experience working with business and healthcare settings. And she works with private clients as well as businesses, schools, and community service groups. Since 2005, Betsy has been offering holistic networking events, women's retreats, private EFT coaching, and EFT practitioner training and certification. She has written the book Energy Makeover in 2012. And in 2019, she wrote The Comeback, which is a true story of EFT and her husband's miraculous recovery following cardiac arrest and brain injury. You can learn more about Betsy's trainings, scholarship opportunities, free tapping groups, and community gatherings at her website, which are in the program notes. And I'm so happy to have you here, Betsy. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Lori. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, and I'd like everyone to know that I met you many times in person, most recently only a couple of months ago at the ACEP conference. And when I went to my first ACEP conference in 2010, yours was the very first learning lab or 2-hour workshop that I went to.
Okay.
And
I
so
didn't
you were my
realize that.
introduction to this whole
Yeah.
field. And I have just had such a strong respect and affinity towards you all these years. And it's just a thrill to have you here today.
So my recollection of you is that we would often be in the same breakout group. We would choose the same presentations out of all those 6 or 7 we could choose from. So you and I had a lot in common.
Yes, yes. And is there anything else you'd like to add to let the audience know as we start our talk today?
I I tell people, I always think it's kind of crazy that I got into this line of work because I started out, as you said, I have an MBA, I have a chemistry degree. I
Oh,
was actually
okay.
a research chemist. I was a very left brain, logical kind of person out, good at math, good at that kind of stuff, good at business, spreadsheets, all that kind of stuff. And somehow my career took me into a place where I learned about energy psychology, and then boom, like my my past serves me well, but I would say that I'm a much more balanced person because I found EFT and energy psychology and started using it in my daily life. And once you do that, you can't turn back. And when we talk about intuition, I think it had a lot to do, it opened that up suddenly and sometimes in a frightening way too.
Okay. Yeah, sometimes
Initially, not anymore,
initially. Okay.
but whoa, there were some weird things that happened.
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't know. I knew about the MBA, but not the chemistry background. My husband and I actually met in a chemistry class. We always say we had good chemistry. But yeah, it is such a different worldview when you're kind of going with, the conventional view of 3D reality. And then
Mhm.
you happen upon things that kind of blow your mind. And it can be frightening because you don't know what is this safe? Are you going crazy? Is this like,
Mhm.
what is this a dangerous situation? What do you do with the information? So I'm glad that you mentioned that actually, because there's a lot of
I mean,
people who are like
and,
cheerleaders for all of this, and we don't always talk about like the underbelly of it.
and even your social connections, because everybody knew me as a very logical person. She's got her act together, and suddenly I'm doing these unusual new things. They're like, what? What's she doing? What's this
Yes.
stuff? And some people turn away, and most of my friends are still my friends. My marriage survived it. I think, lots of good came from it, but initially. I remember my pastor giving me a strange look when I asked a question one day. And yeah, we'll get into some of that when we talk about our topic today.
Yes, but th so thank you for that because there is a social world, and it's almost like it's not exactly the same as a coming out process, but it sort of is. There's the secrecy and shame sometimes, and having to let go of things that are familiar, and we take risks in our life. And so the topic for today is one that we haven't had yet on the podcast directly, and that's about other lifetimes. And this is a controversial topic. Some of our audience will say, well, of course, we've all lived before and we're going to live again, that life reincarnates and never stops, it's eternal. And others are going to say, oh no, this you live one life and that's it. And what are you even talking about? And
Yeah.
so, and everything in between those two options. So, thank you for being brave and talking about this, other lifetimes, or what people call past lives. So,
Mhm.
is there a place that you'd like to begin? Maybe with a story about how you first encountered this, or yeah, wherever you'd like to go with that.
So my real awakening into this strange new invisible world of energy psychology happened in 2001. And actually I was happy, everything was going well. My family and I took a little vacation to Washington, D.C., and we went to the Holocaust Museum of all places, and we only went to the children's part of the Holocaust Museum. And during that visit, while I was there, I had a sudden breakdown in the Children's Holocaust Museum. And it was so startling and so upsetting to me. And I'm with my family. I ran into the restroom and crouched in a stall and just I don't know how much time passed. I just fell apart. I was crying. I didn't understand what the feelings were. And eventually I gathered myself together, washed my face, left the restroom, met my family who was like, "Where'd you go?" I didn't really talk about it. I didn't say what happened. I'm like, let's just go. And so we left. And I didn't talk to anybody
Mm.
after that. Then we got in the car. From there, we drove to the beach to meet my family at the beach for a week at the beach. And as I'm coming in the door of this beach house, my mom hands me this book by Sylvia Brown
Oh.
called Past Lives, Future Healing. And I'm like, what? And anyway, I mean, we just got into the beach house and I'm thinking, and my mom said, I just read this book and it's just so strange. I'm wondering if you could read it so that we could talk about it together. And I'm like, okay, Mom, I just got in the door. Can I put my stuff aside? But anyway, I ended up sitting down with that book and it pulled me in. And I'm like, what the hell is this stuff? And it seemed so real. And then I started thinking, I wonder what happened in the Holocaust Museum. Was that something to do with me in a
Mhm.
past life? But yeah, I think we talked briefly, but I kind of put it aside. Well, the curious thing that happened next was I had arranged for my boss. I was running a alternative medicine group practice. That was my job at the time. And I had arranged, I took care of my boss's speaking engagements, and I got her scheduled to speak at an energy psychology conference in Switzerland, believe it or not. And uh and one day I blurted out, I should go with you. And she said, you should. And I got my husband blessed it. My dad gave me frequent flyer points. So a week after that thing in the Holocaust Museum and the beach house thing, I got on a plane and went to Switzerland.
Mm.
And so I mentioned the incident in the Holocaust Museum to my boss who was traveling with me. And as soon as I started talking about it, I went back into the trauma. Like I couldn't speak anymore and I started crying.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, Betsy, when you get home, I'm going to refer you to somebody because you need to work on this. There are people that help with, like past life trauma and stuff." I'm like, "Whoa." Anyway, so kind of put that aside. We weren't at the conference yet. That happened before we went to the conference. And then we get to the conference and I didn't know anybody there. I didn't know energy psychology. I just wanted to go to Switzerland, which was so funny. I get to the conference. Donna Eden and David are there.
Oh,
She was like the opening keynote. I'm like, this is interesting. I went to everything, even though I wasn't really into the stuff. And then the next presentation was tapping. And
mm,
they, said, pick something that, you're a little stressed about and just try this. And I'm open-minded and I tried it. I think I picked feeling jet lagged and that I didn't know anybody, that kind of uncomfortable feeling when you go to a conference on the first day. I'm tapping on it and I immediately felt wonderful. I'm like, wow, every working mother needs to know this. I'm making a mental note. I need to understand this. This is so cool. So, I went on and I met all the leaders in our field at that conference and I mean, they felt like family.
yeah.
I felt like I had come home and I'm
Yeah.
like, what is this? And a lot of the people were from Cleveland, believe it or not.
Well, place.
So curiously, I don't know if you remember Meryl Beck, also an ACEP member. She has since passed, but Meryl Beck and I were talking, and she's like, "Oh, I'm flying back to Cleveland after the conference, and I'm in first class." I'm like, "Oh, I think I'm on the same flight, and I'm in first class too." So it turns out we were seated next to each other from Zurich all the way to Cleveland.
Wow.
And during the flight, she happened to mention that she was Jewish. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I just had this incident happen in the Holocaust Museum. And as soon as I said it, again, I went into the trauma. It was like, I guess all these things happen for a reason. And
Yeah.
Meryl looked at me and she says, would you like to tap on that right now? And I could barely speak. I'm like, oh. And so in first class on an airplane, Marilyn was taking me through the tapping points. I was just kind of, going along with it. And believe it or not, something went up out the crown of my head. I felt something whoosh and was gone. And I was relieved of it,
Yeah.
whatever it was. And people always say, well, what was it?
Yeah.
And, well, I know what the emotion was. I definitely understand the emotion. That was grief.
Yeah.
I don't know really if it was past life or if there was an earthbound spirit or what it was. And that's the only time that while I was tapping, something went up in the airplane.
Okay.
Usually when I'm on the ground and I'm doing the tapping, it really goes down through my feet and I feel it going through my legs and nothing comes out the crown of my head,
Yeah.
usually when I do EFT. So that's my story. I was just insanely curious about energy psychology after that. I joined ACEP. I started being a presenter at all the meetings because I knew practice building marketing skills.
Hmm.
That's what I did for my job. I was not a practitioner. There weren't even certifications back in the day, but I just started attending. I went to workshops. I met a lot of the people doing this work in Cleveland. And
Hmm.
so I started learning and training and spending my free time doing that. I didn't quit my job till 2005. So
Okay.
that's 4 years of kind of learning on the side, kind of quietly. And then
Yeah.
I switched gears in 2005 and started my practice. So it's been 20 years, believe it
Yeah.
or not, since
Yeah.
all that happened.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Thank you for that beautiful story. So poignant, so interesting, all the twists and turns. There's so many layers to it
Yeah.
that I'd love to highlight. And one of them is the impact, the initial impact when we have things that happen in our lives that confuse us and overwhelm us. And your reaction of secrecy is very common of just waiting it out. It's almost like it's too big or
Mhm.
too personal or too tender to even share with the people you trust and love because you
Mhm.
haven't fully even made sense of it yourself. It's almost like a shock going into shock.
Well, it didn't have words. I think that
Yeah,
was really like, some things that bother us, you can actually put words around, but it
yeah,
just went straight to an emotional core
yeah,
that had an intense feeling and just overwhelmed me. And it was very unlike anything that had ever happened to me. It was not a familiar
yeah.
way of being.
And then I love how so it was beyond what your nervous system could really handle. And
Mhm.
it is primal, and so it goes to a deep place that's beyond words.
Mhm.
And, some people recommend actually that we're having big spiritual or emotional experiences to not talk about it right away because it can kind of leak out the potency of it. And not that you should isolate yourself so that you're feeling incapacitated or cut off from reality or yourself or your identity, but having a space for it. It's like a respectful ritual space for the things that are beyond our understanding. But the fact that your mom probably had been thinking about giving you this book because she brought it with her to this, so there was already like this confluence of energies that were coming to set you up and what you were doing at your work.
I mean,
And
I
so,
feel like there was some sort of divine force that said
yeah.
she's changing careers and it's all, it was like an avalanche of goodness. I mean, and the fact that I met all these people
Yeah.
that I really admired and resonated with in a place so far from home, but then when I came home, a lot of them were local. I mean, it was crazy. Like, how would that happen? Except that I think I made a life. I think part of when we come into these bodies and plant ourselves on planet Earth, and we have a mission, a purpose.
Hmm.
I think part of my purpose really was to do this. And the first half of my life, I think, was to get some relevant experience so that I could carry some of this woo-woo into new places because I have this corporate background and this science background,
Yeah.
and I'm grounded to be able to do it instead
Yeah.
of being all woo-woo like. And I can have fun with this, but I'm here to bring it to earth,
Yes.
and that's
Yeah. And you
okay.
mentioned that, a lot of the times when you would work, that the energies go out your legs. But we are, on a boat, in the water, in the air, on an airplane. You aren't on the soil of the earth, and it's a different gravitational recipe or combination of energies. And so it is interesting that it went out the crown of the head. I used to travel a lot on the plane and I would do writing, and certain writing would come through so clear and almost in a different voice than typical for me, and with kind of surprising elements. And so I came to rely on that. And then I was hearing people talk about how when you're on the water, in the air, that you do have a different orientation magnetically and electromagnetically
Mhm.
and in terms of
Mhm.
consciousness. So it allows for other possibilities. So that is interesting. I've had many, many, many experiences like the one you're describing in the Holocaust Museum that were very much not something that I knew about myself prior to those moments, and that they changed my life very dramatically. And
Mhm.
sometimes they felt very personal, and sometimes it felt more like a collective energy that I was tapping into, almost like you go from looking at the river to standing in it. Anyway, so when you step into the whole different experience, and so, you have to say, where does this come from? Is it mine? Is it the collective? Is it from the past, the future? Time doesn't exist on the other side of
Mhm.
it. And so, does it really matter? Or is it another lifetime through my soul group? Like, or am I picking up on someone else's stuff? I mean, clearly the
Yeah.
children's wing of the Holocaust Museum carries such a vibrant and heavy energy, and it could be almost like a virus, like catching a whiff of what is in there, and that it connected to something in you, and you're such a sensitive and open-hearted person. So who knows? But
Hmm.
anyway, it's just complicated, and I don't know that we really have true answers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm okay without having all the answers. I think even after that session on the airplane with Meryl, I was at such peace that I didn't need to have all the answers around it. It's like, okay, well, ready to move on. I am curious about this tapping stuff, though. I was very curious about that. So it was fine. It was what it was supposed to be. I really feel like it was in my karmic cards for that to happen. And I'm grateful for it. And the same with my husband's tragedy, as horrible as that was in the karmic cards for me too. It was another piece of the soul development. I'm quite
Yes.
certain.
Yes, and you've made so much from it. I remember when you were going through that. And karmic cards for him too, your whole family and our
Mhm.
community, because I know that you got a lot of support from people around, but this was a personal journey that you needed to go through. And then to be so brave and generous to write about it and share your story with the world. And so I know a lot of people have learned a lot and will continue to. And the link for the books will be in the program notes so other people can enjoy that. But I'm also wondering about this other lifetime thing. Is that the only time that that's happened to you, or has there been other times since?
It really is the only time that's happened. Although I will say my husband and I'm quite certain we had soul recognition when
Hmm.
we met each other. And so I don't know, I haven't really even wanted to ponder what that past life or multiple past lives, but we definitely have something. And I think we incarnated this time with the mission to find each other. We did it. We were even born within a month of each other, which I think is pretty neat. Um, and maybe we lived the Holocaust. I don't know. You know what? I don't need to know that. I don't really care.
Hmm.
Um, but I think love is a very powerful force, and um, and our souls are aligned with finding love. That's really kind of what it's and also healing. When
Yes.
when the love isn't there for us, that's where the power of energy psychology and energy healing, I think, can do some miraculous things, as
Yes.
you know, too.
Yeah, yeah. It's tender work, and people can be brought through it in a very gentle and loving way. And with changes that happen so quickly that you kind of doubt that
Mhm.
what's happening here?
Yeah,
Was I really suffering before? Is it really gone? Can I trust that it's not going to come back and all of that? So it kind of
yeah.
messes with our minds and expectations. But I have seen people talk about with other lifetimes that um, more and more people are going to be experiencing the energy or emotional traces of other lifetimes, whether they're your own or someone else's or related to the land where you are living or traveling. It's almost like the image that I have right now is when you have raw bread dough. Before you put it in the oven, you can smell the yeast and so on. But once you put it in the oven to bake, it permeates your whole space, and you can't get
Mhm.
away from that wonderful smell of baking bread. And
Mhm.
that there's energies that are changing on our earth that are making that remembrance rise up in a more obvious way. And for the people who've never experienced that, it can be quite disarming and confusing. And you can wonder, well, what the heck is going on? I was a certain way and now I'm different, or I never, this never bothered me before. Like maybe suddenly you have aversions to things or interest in things that you didn't. And it may be that, or even abilities that come online.
Mhm.
Um, And so, what is all of that? And so, our ancestors and our other lifetimes offer trauma and tragedy, but also gifts. And
Hmm.
it's an opportunity, I think, for us to kind of sift through things maybe that are stuck from other times and places, but also are gifts that we worked really hard
Hmm.
at that kind of come
Hmm.
fall into our laps again. So it can be daunting and beautiful at the same time. So, anyway, I bring that up because I am noticing that more and more with people. And so, if you're one of those watching or listening, and this is happening to you for the first time, um, I invite you to be curious about it and to find some ways to center and ground yourself with things that are familiar and soothing for you so that you can create the space to explore a little bit more without feeling so overwhelmed.
Hmm.
Is my little PSA about it.
Yeah.
So this all, it's interesting you mentioned Cleveland because the Cleveland Clinic is where Donna Eden wound up having her life saved.
Mhm.
She had taught at the Cleveland Clinic about energy medicine, and then years later, in the last 5 years, she was after the pandemic, they had set aside to teach again, and then she
Yeah. So
almost
it was a
died.
big conference. It was energy medicine conference that they had downtown. And then I think after the conference was over, she was just feeling poorly and they rushed her into
Yeah,
the clinic.
she wound up teaching, her family was teaching the nurses and doctors the energy work and how much better she did, how
Mhm.
quick, so quickly. So there's something there about energy psychology,
Mhm.
energy medicine, and that
Yeah.
land. So, yeah. So, anyway, so is there anything else that you'd like to share as we're coming to the end of our time together today?
Well, I would say to people, exploring past lives, sometimes it conflicts with your religious upbringing. Um, I would invite people that feel conflicted because I was, raised in a Christian household. Um, that that presented me with, I don't know, just like, what do I believe about this? But I think if you consider that we're really all part of a oneness and all points in time, if there's a story, a human story out there that can help you move past trauma, forgive yourself, love others, feel comfortable with others, repair relationships, that a character will come to you, and it will be a blessing to work on, whether it's real or whether it's an avatar for you. Might even think of it that way. A great deal of healing can happen when you address past lives. And I will also mention that you need to have permission to work with past lives. It's a very sacred thing.
Hmm.
So if someone comes to me and I test to see if there's permission to work on it, I have to honor if there isn't permission. If I sense that, and we do muscle testing in person to test that, and you and I have our own systems of getting the yes and the no answer.
Yeah.
Most practitioners have that. It's you have to use your ethics when you're working with past lives and exploring this. And some things aren't meant to be known or explored, and to be okay with that. So
Hmm.
I just say that because I honor that each client is going to be different and we want what's best for them. And that is the prayer I say, what is highest and best for this person if we explore that.
Oh, thank you for bringing that in. I think it's really important to ask permission and to know that maybe now isn't the right time, or maybe we're not the right people. That doesn't mean
Mhm.
it's a forever no, but a no now, and to respect that and back off.
Yeah. And we have a big, you and I both have pretty big toolkits of things we can do with clients too. So someone might really want to do past life work, but you ask, what's the highest priority of all the things I can do for them? It might not be past life. It might be another process. So we got to be okay with that. And
Yes.
hopefully they're okay with it too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we use the term spiritual bypass. Sometimes it's interesting. It's
Yeah.
almost like getting into the soap
Mhm.
operas or the tabloids. It's like, whoa,
Mhm.
what was this past life? What was that one? It's like, well, you have your current life that you need to deal with and to not be an avoidance about that. Although I also have heard that often the past lives that we need for our current situation are the ones that come up. And so it's like a magnetic resonance between other lifetimes and what we're needing right now.
Yeah.
So, but
Like
yes,
things that aren't resolved in a previous life will keep cycling through until our consciousness understands the lesson.
yeah.
So, and especially if it's causing suffering over and over again. Um, yeah, and there's no explanation in the current life. I think that's another clue. Like the current life, they've had a great childhood, great parents, everything's gone pretty well, and there's this mystery. Like, why do they have this problem or this aversion or this, I don't know, just conflicts that don't
Yeah.
make sense.
Yeah.
And then we can resolve it pretty quickly and also connect them possibly to a soul group. Sometimes you can even find people in their current lives that resonate with that past life because we reincarnate with the same characters oftentimes, or we change roles.
Yes.
And it's quite dramatic. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that can be explored. And I'm very grateful. I should mention Barbara Stone because I use Barbara Stone's soul detective protocols for doing past life work, and I integrate EFT with it for
Okay.
healing the traumatic part of a past life. I mean, really, if we're working with past life, we're doing trauma
Yeah.
release work.
Right.
But it's very gentle. That's what I love about it. It's so gentle and so loving, and there's usually a huge lesson that comes out of it, better than a reframe. It's like a big, wonderful, bright trophy for.
Yeah, like a realignment or a soul emergence.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, thank you for that. That's beautiful. I love the nuance and breadth and depth that you're bringing to this topic. So appreciate it. And it's so obvious to me how your heart is right at the center of all that you do. And it makes all the difference because when we have that heart connection, then I, I, I should just say it, all things are possible.
yeah.
I don't know that my mind believes that, but my my words wanted to say that. So all things are
Hmm.
possible. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's just been a delight talking with you today.
Well, same here. I'm very grateful we had this time together and
Yeah.
that we'll see each other again. That's
Yes.
the beauty of our meetings.
Yes.
Mhm.
All right. Bye-bye, everyone.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us for today's podcast. If you want to learn more, you can visit my website for podcast and resources at hopshealingtips.com. You can also like, share, and subscribe to this channel. This podcast is for information and entertainment purposes only and is not providing healthcare advice. Please seek guidance from your professional healthcare team should you need assistance.